And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just embarked on his historic 4-day US visit. In a statement before his departure, Narendra Modi said that he sees the visit as vital for India's development and that he is looking at American partnership in education, skills, research, technology and innovation. The Prime Minister said that he is confident that the visit will mark the start of a new chapter in Indo-US strategic partnership. Narendra Modi will be in New York and Washington over the course of his visit, where the Prime Minister has 35 engagements scheduled over the 4 days of his US trip. Here is the elaborate list of his engagements.
The countdown to Prime Minister's landmark US visit has begun. The world will be watching as the Indian Prime Minister meets the American President. Narendra Modi's 4-day US trip will begin with a visit to the 9/11 Memorial on 27 September. He will also address the United Nations General Assembly on the same day. Bilateral meetings with Bangladesh, Nepal and Sri Lanka are also on the cards. What doesn't figure on the Prime Minister's elaborate list of engagements is a meeting with his Pakistani counterpart Nawaz Sharif.
In keeping with his policy of neighbours first, Prime Minister will be meeting 3 of our neighbours. These are the President of Sri Lanka, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh and the Prime Minister of Nepal.
On 28 September, the Prime Minister will address a massive gathering at New York City's Madison Square Garden. Narendra Modi's address is expected to draw a crowd of more than 18,000 people, and thousands more are likely to throng New York's Times Square to watch the address that will be beamed live on giant screens.
We have been way overbooked. The demand was for almost 40,000 seats and it is still coming. We closed down on 7th of September taking the registrations for individuals, and we still keep on getting so much of emails and communication that they want to come. That's why we made a backup arrangement that let's broadcast his speech live on Times Square.
Prime Minister Modi means business with his maiden US trip. He will have a power-packed breakfast with business leaders on 29 September, where he will try and restore their faith in the Indian growth story. It's also the day when he will meet former US President Bill Clinton, and he will end the day with a private dinner with the Obamas at the White House. The all-important meeting for the US President is scheduled for 30th September. Apart from large-scale investment, the Prime Minister will be looking for critical technology for defence and aerospace, energy cooperation and partnership in fighting global terror. The big question is, will there be more substance to the much-hyped visit than just symbolism? With Rahul Kaval in New York, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
And Ankit Tyagi, our correspondent, now joining us on the phone line. Ankit, Modi's schedule lists about 35 engagements during this 4-day trip, including, as we were talking about, a rock star-like address at New York's Madison Square Garden, a speech to the United Nations and an appearance at a Central Park Festival that features, several celebrities, including rap stars.
Absolutely. It is a packed schedule for the Prime Minister of India on his first visit as the Prime Minister to the United States. Of course, first on the stop would be New York, where he will be addressing the United Nations General Assembly. A lot of talk about that already. It is expected that he is going to speak in Hindi, and after Prime Minister, in fact, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, when he was the Foreign Minister and he addressed the United Nations General Assembly in Hindi, this will be probably the first time that something like this would be happening. Apart from that, yes, a big event to look forward to would be his address at the Madison Square Garden. This will, of course, be cut live at many locations. It has been organized by the American Indian, Origin People's Association. Apart from that, of course, he will then be moving to Washington, D.C. Important engagements there. Will be meeting President Barack Obama, and then there will be delegate-level talks in Washington, D.C. So a packed schedule as far as the Prime Minister is concerned. But of course, a lot of people are looking forward to what actually Prime Minister Narendra Modi is able to come back with from the United States. This probably would be one of the biggest tests or one of the biggest things that people will be looking at.
Absolutely, Ankit. Stay with us. As soon as the Prime Minister lands in New York, all eyes will be on his 20-minute address at the United Nations General Assembly. In his speech on the 27th of September, the Prime Minister will call for a stronger global commitment towards meeting global economic challenges and fighting terror. Modi will also be meeting the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and leaders from other countries on the margins of the UNGA.
Well, the theme of this General Assembly session is to prepare for the post-2015 development agenda. And I think that a lot of countries have been following the announcements made by the Prime Minister since his election, especially those that relate to development. In fact, the phrase of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and the specific policy prescriptions that have been put forward in specific sectors of development have resonated in New York. And there's an expectation that all these policy pronouncements that have been announced nationally will resonate internationally when we negotiate the post-2015 development agenda over the next 1 year.
Javed Ansari still with us in the studios. The Prime Minister will also be urging, more importantly, the UN for an early adoption of the post-2015 development agenda, and stressing on the urgency of early reforms in the United Nations to ensure that it remains relevant and, more importantly, effective in dealing with the challenges of the 21st century.
Well, indeed he will, but this is not something new. Most Prime Ministers, I was a part of the media delegation that accompanied Prime Minister Manmohan Singh last year, and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had more or less the same thing to say. Much of what happens in the UN, the reorganization has been on the cards for many years. It hasn't happened. For India, the big thing is that we want to be able to sit at the high table, the Security Council, and we've been trying to lobby very hard. When President Obama came here, he said that in India, whenever the reorganization takes place, India should have a place. Now, whenever is a very vague term, and there no time frames have been set. So Prime Minister Modi will take off from where former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh left and try and press India's case for a seat at the high table.
Absolutely, and all eyes on Narendra Modi as he gets ready for his maiden trip to the US as Prime Minister, and almost 10 years after he was denied a US visa. International circles obviously are abuzz with speculation over whether or not Narendra Modi will be meeting his Pakistani counterpart on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. Speaking to TV Today's managing editor Rahul Kawal, India's envoy to the US Ashok Mukherjee ruled out any meeting with Nawaz Sharif.
No, they are not on the same day in New York. The speech of the Prime Minister of Pakistan is on the 26th and our Prime Minister is on the 27th. So I do not think in the speaker's list there is any chance of a meeting in the General Assembly. Well, you know, in the United Nations General Assembly, the Kashmir issue since 1972, since the signing of the Simla Agreement, has been an issue which has been dealt with, as we have always said, bilaterally under the Simla Agreement. We have never ever accepted any role for the United Nations in the issue of Jammu and Kashmir after the signing of the Simla Agreement. And that is what our position will be.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has embarked on his historic visit to the US, America rolling out the red carpet. Headlines today gets in touch with those waiting to receive Narendra Modi. Rahul Kawal speaking to Miss America Neena Davuluri, the first Indian American to win the title, who will be there to welcome Narendra Modi at the Madison Square Garden event.
Neena Davuluri is a Miss America and is very popular here with the Indian American community. You're going to be the MC for this program. Why did you decide to sign up and are you excited?
Well, I didn't sign up. I was very honored to actually be asked to do this, and I'm just so honored because I think this really goes to show the strengthening of the ties between the US and India, and I'm really proud to represent both sides.
In some senses, this is being thought of as a coming out party for the Indian American community, as one of the more prominent faces of the Indian American community. What does Prime Minister Modi's event at Madison Square Garden mean to you?
Well, I think this is the first time that such a reception is even being held. And the fact that it's sold out at Madison Square Garden, the fact that there are, hundreds of college students on campuses hosting events at their venues for watch parties for this, I think it really goes to show how well he's being received.
Do you follow any Indian politics at all? What do you make of Narendra Modi and and his achievement coming from a railway station selling tea to being the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy?
I think in some sense it's also that spirit of the American dream that, you know, I know for myself is that many of us come to this country in hopes of that American dream and that American spirit, that regardless of your race, your gender, your socioeconomic status, that anyone can become what they want to be. And I think he is a testament to that, and I think a lot of people resonate with that, especially my generation and younger and even older.
Most young Indian Americans are very conflicted about their Indian roots. They rue what could have been the India story. Do you think this event is awakening a new interest in India and things Indian thanks to Prime Minister Modi?
I think it's definitely awakening an interest, and I think that, like I said, that this is the first time anything like this is ever being held, I think it's very exciting for our generation, second generations and younger, to really embrace their culture, to understand not only their culture, but what is going on in their country. You know, essentially, I feel like I'm a part of both worlds, being Indian and American, and both roots are very important to me. So to really find a healthy balance between the two.
Also, in serials, you're the one who's been chosen. Nervous? Excited?
I'm very excited, I'm very humbled, and I'm very honored. I mean, this is a wonderful opportunity, and I'm very grateful for it.
What are your folks, friends, family making of it?
Well, my parents will be here, or will be watching at least, so they're very proud. Also, my family back in India, of course, is very proud, and we're all just ready for a great show, a great speech, and a great reception.
What interests me is that Dr. Patel's got Indian Americans who are going to be performing. So these are real people. These are not stars. You got some stars like you coming in, but these are not stars per se. These are just regular I met some working at Merrill Lynch, some are going to college. They're the ones who are going to be performing.
Absolutely, and it's going to be wonderful for the community to see those performances, to see our talent, and to have fun.
Have you ever done something as big as this before in terms of having such a big audience and the venue being Madison Square Garden, which is iconic in America?
Well, you know, I have been able to do a couple things. I was at the Super Bowl, and of course, as Miss America, there's a lot of perks that come with it, but this is definitely a highlight on the list.
Okay, and do you follow India still closely, or are you cut off now from much of what's happening back in India?
It's a little bit of both. It's very difficult to balance both worlds, like I said. I am first and foremost Miss America, and so I really try to take that job as serious as I can, because it is a full-time job and it's a huge responsibility to represent this nation.
And you're the first Miss America who comes from an Indian origin. How tough or difficult was it for you to fit in and live up, as you said, to both aspirations, right? The Indian dimension and the American dimension.
You know, it is a difficult job, but what I really have learned is that you have to find a healthy balance between both worlds. And you also, I wanted to encourage young children to be able to embrace their ethnicity, because that's what makes this country so great, is the fact that anyone can become anything they want to be, regardless of their race, their gender, or their socioeconomic status, like I said.
Coming from two different backgrounds, does that make life easier, more enriching, or tougher, or conflicting?
All of the above. I mean, you go through so many emotions because you're trying to assimilate with the American culture while trying to keep true to your Indian roots and heritage. And of course, your parents don't necessarily always understand what that dynamic is because they haven't been through it themselves. So I think really being able to advocate and really talk about my experiences with younger generations, share what I went through, because we all go through those same things, and turn that into a positive conversation and find that balance.
What would you like to tell young members of the Indian American community who are as conflicted as you would have been at some point in time, and to people watching back home?
I would say stay true to yourself, and I know that sounds cliche and it's so much easier said than done, but you have to know who you are, love who you are, and stand up for who you are.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Thank you. With camera person Kirpal Singh, this is Rahul Kanwal near Times Square reporting for Headlines Today.
And now Lavina joining us all the way from London. Lavina, interesting to really note how the UK is actually viewing Modi's maiden trip to the United States.
I have spoken to various sections of the society, from the political people to the business people and the common people. They think that this is a very historical trip. Because there is a background to it as well. This is the country that had denied visa to the Prime Minister, so that now has gone very much to the background. But that is there in the mind, that there's some sort of poetic justice that has happened, and he's been called with open arms, and such a big and huge thing is happening for him. But more than that, the fact that this is a platform where not only bilateral relations will be made, but he's going, as people have said, as the CEO of India, to sell the Indian dream this time in America. And people are buying that. People are really looking to what he gets and does in the US. And the next in line, of course, is UK. He's not yet come here, though David Cameron, the Prime Minister, was the first person to congratulate him. But UK is still waiting for Modi, and hopeful that maybe in November he will be here. Britain is so much ready. India is so much high on the agenda here. They are really wanting to do business, and 3 delegations have gone to India already, including the biggest delegation that Nick Clegg took. So all is positive. It's very hopeful when it comes to Modi. Few people from the business sector feel that whatever he has said, he should follow. The action should be implemented.
Lavina, thank you so much for bringing us that update from London.